Alright, I'm gonna make some guesses about how your narcissist behaved in the midsection of your relationship, that is between the love bombing phase and the discard, and you let me know how many of these you experienced. Make sure you hit follow and you can book a coaching session with me through the link in my bio. Number 1, in the beginning of the relationship, it felt like you guys had all of the same interests, desires, hobbies, thoughts, wants, and needs. And once you got past the love bombing phase, you found out that you guys didn't really have anything in common at all. Number 2, they started telling you what you could wear, whether or not you could wear makeup if you're a woman, how to do your hair, etc. Number 3, they started to withdraw all love, affection, attention, approval, and sex, and you didn't know why. Number 4, you started catching them in lies. You started realizing that their stories were inconsistent and that they hadn't been telling you the truth. Number 5, the sex became objectifying, weird, and they potentially started to try to coerce you into behaviors and acts that you weren't comfortable with. And potentially, once they actually convinced you into doing said act, they shamed you for it. 6, they started accusing you of cheating, saying and doing things that you had never done, would never do, and potentially weren't even possible. 7, you had a strong inclination that they were cheating, you caught them cheating, or found out that they were on dating apps / talking to other people. 8, they became paranoid, extremely hypersensitive to any even perceived criticism, and always seemed to feel like you were attacking them, trying to persecute them, humiliate them, or disrespect them, when you weren't. 9, they would inexplicably disappear for hours or days at a time, but they would always come back with some kind of excuse. 10, they started making you feel insecure, comparing you to others, talking about how others were more attractive, more intelligent, or better than you in some way, and they did this either overtly or covertly. 11, they started triangulating you with other people, their friend, their psychologist, their family member, their ex, or they brought another love interest into the picture, and they were generally always getting other people into the picture on their side to back them up and make you wrong. 12, they had been your greatest supporter and fan, and then they just started turning into a low-key hater. 13, the good times were getting fewer and further between. 14, they started to pick fights and create drama with you, and then blame you for it. 15, all of their empathy, compassion, and kindness disappeared. Didn't care if you were upset, and didn't care if you were crying at all. 16, they acted like nothing you did was ever good enough, and they continually shifted the goalposts anytime you tried to do what they wanted. 17, they made you responsible for their moods, their behavior, and things that were going on in their life. It weren't your responsibility. 18, they started patronizing you, condescending to you, talking down to you like you were a moron, and generally making you feel small, insignificant, silly, and less than. 19, they were extremely jealous and possessive. 20, they wanted to know where you were and who you were with all of the time. 21, they started sabotaging all of your relationships with other people, friends, and family. For example, they would blow up your phone anytime you did go out with them, or give you the silent treatment and punish you in some way for having done it. 22, they started isolating you from the people that were important to you, potentially trying to turn you against them or turn them against you. 23, they started showing bouts of extreme rage, flying off the handle, screaming, yelling, verbal abuse, or cold rage, where they would shut down, ignore you, refuse to speak to you, but be absolutely seething. 24, you would get into these ridiculous hours-long circular conversations or arguments where the goalposts continually moved and nothing ever got resolved. 25, they often accused you of doing the things that they were doing, accusing you of their negative character traits, and generally projecting their own motives and thought processes onto you. 26, they started to act like an empty, vacant shell when you guys were at home alone. Always scrolling on their phone, watching TV, refusing to talk, and generally pretty much ignoring you. 27, they started to turn into two completely different people depending on whether you guys were at home alone or out in public in front of others. 28, at one point you felt like you were dealing with a complete stranger and started to wonder what the hell happened to the person that you knew in the beginning and the person that you thought you were getting into a relationship with. 29, they had massive double standards that they could not see. In other words, they had one rule for you and no rules for themselves. And 30, they refused to take any kind of accountability for anything, instead blaming you. How did I do? I could keep going, but I'm going to stop there. And I want you to drop Narc Whisperer in the comments if you hit more than 20 on this list.